Hello, I'm Randy Allman. This video is going to be about the Officer Productivity module that's added to the ComStat dashboard. It's a separate dashboard. It's not included with the ComStat dashboard. You enter the Officer Productivity by clicking on this tab. It brings up this first page where categories have all been set up. Your dates are the same as they've been set up for everything else. First, we're going to go into the setup of the officer settings. The Officer Productivity Dashboard has three settings. It has officer groups, action sets, and tracked statuses. Officer groups are those groups of officers you put together in order to gather data about them. In other words, you may want patrol shift 1, 2, 3, Sergeant Smith shift, days, nights, afternoons. You may want an admin shift, or you may want DY and strike force or FTO. If you have training officers in training, you may want to set up a shift just with those people in it so that you can track their progress or what they're doing. The dashboard over on application settings, the Officer Productivity Dashboard uses, or you give access to the Officer Productivity Dashboard by clicking this button on each user you want to have it. The dates are also used in Officer Productivity. So if you set up a date here, it'll be over here on your Officer Productivity Dashboard. So the first setting is officer groups. To create an officer group, you click on the red button. Here's a list of all officers that are in your AP names. So it could be employees, officers, retired people. Whatever you have in AP names is what's going to show up on this list. So you can go down through here and type a name and move them up, or you can grab that down and move them up. However you want to create this category. There's shift click. You can click here, shift click, move them up, or click them like this and move them up. The best way to set up groups is to just enter their name in here and then pick the one you want, move him up, enter another name, and go on with it. The group name is anything you would like. This could be mornings, nights, whatever it is, and then you click on those items you want the dashboard to search for right here. Give it an icon, save your changes, and now you have a group that's going to appear on the officer page. The information comes from the accident table, AC main. If you're not using the accident table, we can program the dashboard to look at other areas within your department for it as long as it's in Spillman. For example, if you use law incident to track accidents, we could look at the law incident and populate the accidents from there. Same with arrest. If you use whichever table you use, you have to use one of the tables if you're going to track arrests. Citations, some agencies do traffic stop law incidents and then put WAR for warnings and CIT for citations. Or you have to use citations CT main. Incidents, everybody has that one, probably law incidents. Interviews, that's field interviews, FL main. If you track them somewhere else, we may be able to code the dashboard to get to them. A lot of agencies do not use the warnings, these CT main warnings table. I think it's TW main, not CT main. CT main citations. TW main is used, but however, some agencies might track them on the law incident through traffic stop, or in dispatch through a disposition on a warning, or actually in citations by a different disposition or a different number that starts with a W or something to that effect. But if you track them, we can usually get them to work. The action sets, what this is a stopwatch. It starts a timer off a 10 code or radio code information, and it stops it when you have an in code. So in this particular case, they're trying to look at on call from the time they arrived on the scene until they completed the call. That would be a unit of time. This one is from the time they called on duty to the time they called off duty. You can have parent groups. That's what this one is. It's a committed group with this inside of it. So you can add a whole bunch of things to committed to see if you can show the committed time on an officer. You can edit the action types. Here you can add additional ones, whatever you wish. This one's got the 3 of them here. You could put in there available time if you wanted instead of committed. You just add the new group to it here, save it, and you can put it in there. Then you can add different action sets to it. So we can create a new action set. Let's say that we're looking for an action set that's en route to the call. And so the en route's going to be from the time that they were paged, or they said en route, to the time they arrived at scene. Even though it looks pretty simple, the problem is if they're not using the radio log properly, if they don't call en route, or they don't call arrived, or they're using very few of them, then this will not be accurate. Track statuses. This is for tracking those things that really don't tend to do well for timers, like registration checks, driver's license checks. It'll track how many of them there are. So now we'll go back over to the Officer tab. Now that you have set up the groups of officers, in this case you can see the ones that we had set up when we went in to set up, and we put different officers in each of them. From here you can do different things with them. You can set the date range that you would like to look for. You can look at the officer details, or you can look at the case management, which will show information on if you started to use case management and been putting investigative cases into a detail. That's what these are: narcotics, robbery, burglary. The dashboard picks them up automatically to see which ones you're using. In this case, we're showing the burglary detail. If you went to all details, it would show this. It would give you a kind of a clearance rate: how many active, how many cleared by arrest, how many are inactive or unfounded. You could go right on down through that. There are 3 buttons under here. We've covered officer details, case management, and now we'll cover a little bit more about radio statistics. The radio statistics come from the action sets that were set up under the setup menu when you created a start and a stop time. So each one of these was set up separately. You can look at them differently: time per action group, the committed time, amount of time on call, and en route are the 2 things in there. Uncommitted times here, and the busy ones here. Go back to time per officer. So you can see on each one of these per group, as in the squad, and then we have per officer. So we'll go under this one here, and it'll show how much time he's shown busy, on call, en route, and uncommitted. Remember, this is off of the radio log. So if they're not using the radio log, and they're not calling in and out, say on duty, off duty, if they're not calling off duty, or they're not calling in duty, you won't get correct statistics. So either you may have to make more 10 codes, or you may want to enforce policy, or you may decide just to use a few of them that you are doing. You can add them up separately. So if you wanted to know different ones added together, over here it'll tell you as you click on them. This time here will go up. So if you had a whole bunch of committed ones, you could just say, well, how much time was it? Or leave on duty off the list, because that's kind of a totality of everything. You can look at the raw data down here, and you'll show what the clock's doing. He's en route, he's busy, en route, busy, en route, completed. And so the clock was starting on when this clock was busy, completed. So every time he went busy and completed, it created a timer on it. See, en route arrived. This one shows a lot of en route, but no arrives. On call, Busy, completed, busy, completed, busy, completed. So your agency is going to be a little bit different, how it's set up and how you use it. But like I say, it really depends on the radio log. But some agencies have been able to be very detailed. They use a lot of the 10 codes, and they enforce the policy on when they're supposed to use, what codes they use, when and where. So under officer details, again, you pick out a group, click on it. Now we're looking at a group of officers. In this case, we're looking at Patrol 2 under incidents. You can look at the total workload here. That'll show you what the average records are and all the categories that we're counting and what the percentage of for this officer. You can then go to summary, which will summarize all the activity for the whole shift, and then you can pick different ones. We'll go to incidents. They give you detailed information on each incident down here. From here you could search on whatever you like, type of offenses, whether arrests were made, things like that. Again, you could hit every one of them. We go to citations, see what citations was that they were working on as a shift. Once you get to this point, you can pick a particular shift, or you can look at a particular officer on it. Go back up here. Pick Jeff. Now we're within the patrol on one particular officer. So in this case, we're going to look at citations, type of citations, the number of movers, non-movers, what statute was written. That's under the summary. You look at the citation data and go down through it. So that's all these fields you look at by the officer once you're in that patrol group. Again, the case management's for investigation. Once you drill into a case management like burglary, let me back up there. And see if it'll let us go in. What's happening is it's this demo has got too much. There we go. So we can go into burglary and look at the actual burglary information here. Unfounded, cleared, what they are by percentage. You can also look at the case data for burglary, and then you can go into an officer's information. Now you can look at an individual officer's case management, like status summary. How's he doing? Is he arresting people? Is it cleared by exception? Are they unfounded? What is exactly the percentage of this detective? The other one is radio statistic information. And it looks like, let me increase the date range on that one a little bit for this demo box, see if we pick up a little more information. Yeah, we get a little bit, but what we're doing in here is this is times. So detectives committed times 9 days, 2 hours, for instance, on this one. So we go in here. It'll show each of them what they're doing, what the hours are, and give you a chance to look at the individual time and committed and hours worked. So that's pretty well Officer Productivity 5.0. If you have any questions, please feel free to get hold of me. Thank you.